You took your magnesium last night. Maybe you'd heard it helps with sleep. Maybe a friend mentioned it. Maybe you read about it somewhere and thought it might be worth trying, so you took it before bed. Turned off the light and still woke up at 2 a.m, wide awake. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And it doesn't necessarily mean magnesium doesn't work for you. It might simply mean something small needs adjusting. Magnesium has become one of the most talked about supplements for people in their 60s and beyond. And honestly, there are good reasons for that. As we get older, the body's ability to absorb and hold on to magnesium can change. Dietary habits shift, and many people in this stage of life find themselves dealing with things like restless nights, muscle tension, or that frustrating feeling of waking up tired even after a full night in bed. So it makes sense that a lot of people turn to magnesium. But here's something worth knowing. Not all magnesium is the same. And how you take it, when you take it, what you take it with, and how much you take can make a real difference in whether it actually supports you the way you're hoping. Today we're going to walk through 4 common mistakes people over 60 often make when taking magnesium at night. Not to alarm you, simply to help you feel a little more informed, a little more confident, and maybe just a little more hopeful about getting better rest. Let's start here, because this one surprises a lot of people. Walk into almost any pharmacy or grocery store and you'll find magnesium supplements lining the shelves. But if you look closely at the labels, you'll notice something interesting. They're not all the same form. There's magnesium oxide, magnesium citrate, magnesium glycinate, magnesium malate, and they behave quite differently in the body. Magnesium oxide is probably the most common form you'll find. It's inexpensive, it's widely available, and on paper, it looks like a very good deal. But here's the thing. Magnesium oxide has a relatively low absorption rate. That means a large portion of it may pass through the digestive system without ever making it fully into the bloodstream. For some people, this also means an unexpected trip to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Not exactly what you were hoping for when you took something meant to help with sleep. Forms like magnesium glycinate tend to be gentler on digestion and are often considered more absorbable. Magnesium citrate falls somewhere in between. There are others as well, each with slightly different properties. The point here isn't to tell you which one you should take. That's always a conversation worth having with your doctor or pharmacist, especially considering your individual health situation. The point is simply this. If you've been taking magnesium and haven't noticed much benefit, the type you're taking might be worth a second look. Now here's another mistake that's a little counterintuitive. Many people take magnesium right at bedtime, sometimes even after they've already gotten into bed. That feels logical, right? You want help sleeping, so you take it right before sleep. But magnesium isn't quite like a sleep aid that works within minutes. It works more gradually, supporting the nervous system, helping muscles relax, allowing the body to settle over time. Taking it very late, say within 30 minutes of lying down, may not give your body enough time to absorb it before you're trying to fall asleep. And depending on the form, it could even create mild digestive activity that interrupts rather than supports rest. A gentler approach that many people find works better is taking magnesium earlier in the evening, maybe an hour or 2 before bed, sometimes after dinner. That gives your body a comfortable window to work with it before you're ready to wind down. Think of it less like flipping a switch and more like slowly dimming the lights. A little earlier in the evening often feels more natural for the body. Now here's the mistake almost no one talks about, and it can be one of the most important. Many adults over 60 are managing their health with one or more medications. That's simply the reality of this stage of life, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it does mean that adding any supplement, including magnesium, deserves a little extra awareness. Magnesium can interact with certain medications in ways that are worth knowing about. For example, some antibiotics are better absorbed when taken several hours away from magnesium. Certain blood pressure medications and diuretics can also be affected by magnesium levels. And some medications used for thyroid conditions or bone health may work best when they aren't taken at the exact same time as magnesium. Again, this isn't meant to worry you. Most of the time, the solution is simple. Often, it's just a matter of spacing things out by a few hours. But it's a helpful reminder that supplements don't always exist in isolation from the rest of what you're taking. If you are on regular medications and you've started taking magnesium, it's worth mentioning it to your pharmacist the next time you're there. Pharmacists are wonderful and often underused resources for exactly this kind of question. They can quickly look at your medication list and let you know if there's anything to be aware of. Sometimes it's a 5-minute conversation that saves a lot of guesswork. Now let's talk about another common mistake. More isn't always better, and with magnesium, this is especially true. There's a common belief with supplements that if a little is good, a little more must be even better. But the body has a limit to how much magnesium it can comfortably absorb and use at one time. When that limit is exceeded, the excess has to go somewhere. For magnesium, that often means digestive discomfort, loose stools, cramping, and yes, sometimes more nighttime trips to the bathroom. Some people, not seeing results right away, quietly double their dose. Others might be taking magnesium as part of a multivitamin, and then add a separate magnesium supplement without realizing the amounts are stacking together. The body usually responds better to a steady, moderate amount than to a large occasional dose. Nutrition organizations often suggest that supplemental magnesium for adults may fall somewhere around 200 to 350 milligrams per day, but individual needs can vary quite a bit. And what's comfortable for one person may not feel right for someone else. If you've noticed digestive discomfort after taking magnesium, that's often a signal worth paying attention to. It may mean the amount is more than your body comfortably wants at one time, or that the form simply doesn't agree with you. Now let's step back for a moment, because it's helpful to talk about what many people over 60 are actually experiencing at night. These are the situations where magnesium often comes into the conversation. There's the person who falls asleep easily, but wakes up at 2 or 3 in the morning with their mind suddenly wide awake. They lie there, sometimes for an hour, before drifting back to sleep, and the morning feels foggy. There's the person whose legs feel restless in the evening, that crawling, unsettled sensation that makes it hard to relax in bed. There's the person who wakes up suddenly with a calf cramp or tightness in the shoulders or neck. And then there's the person who simply never feels fully rested. They spend 7 or 8 hours in bed, but the sleep feels light, fragile, like they're hovering just above real rest. These experiences are incredibly common, and they aren't things you simply have to accept as unavoidable. Magnesium doesn't solve everything, and it isn't the answer for everyone. But for some people, when it's the right form, taken at the right time, in a comfortable amount, and without conflicting with other medications, it can genuinely make a difference. So if you're taking magnesium now, or thinking about starting, here are a few gentle things to pay attention to. Take a look at the form you're using. If it's magnesium oxide and you haven't noticed much benefit, it might be worth exploring other forms. Think about timing. Taking it an hour or two before bed often works better than taking it right as you're lying down. Check in with your pharmacist if you're taking medications. It's a small step, but one of the most helpful things you can do. And most importantly, listen to how your body responds. Digestive discomfort is often a sign that the amount, the form, or the timing may need a small adjustment. And that's really what this is about. Small adjustments. You don't need to overhaul everything. You don't need to make dramatic changes overnight. Often the difference between magnesium helping and not helping comes down to something very simple. A different form, a slightly earlier time, or a quick conversation with a pharmacist. Your body is still responding. It's still adapting. And at this stage of life, that's something worth appreciating and working with. Before we finish, I'm curious about something. If you've ever tried magnesium for sleep, what was your experience like? Did it help? Or did it feel like nothing really changed? You can share that in the comments. Sometimes hearing other people's experiences helps all of us understand these things a little better. In our next video, we're going to talk about something closely connected to this. A few everyday habits that quietly affect sleep after 60, often without people realizing it. Some of them are surprisingly simple, and some of them might change the way you think about your evening routine. If you don't want to miss that conversation, feel free to subscribe, take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.